All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is 2:30, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. These are good trainings in a short amount of time. We love our mini training series, so hopefully you walk away learning something new today. And if not, hopefully this is a good refresher for our special education process. So my name's Keisha Cree. I'm an online learning support specialist for CAOLA. I've been with the program, with the team for about 5 years now. So I'm just going to take you through the how-tos of the special education form in Genius, including how to add an IEP. And then I'm also going to show you the inherent accommodations that already exist within eSchoolware and the Buzz and Canvas, or the Buzz platforms. For Canvas, we do not have strong mind demo accounts, so I will show you where to find information on their accommodations, but I won't be able to show you directly. Feel free to ask questions as we're going along. Brian Grossi's on here with me. He'll be monitoring the chat, so you're welcome to ask questions as you think of them. So everything I show today is going to be in the demo world, so there might be a couple of discrepancies between what you're seeing and what it would look like in actuality, but that's just because it's the demo account. So anything with like pace progress that would maybe come up wouldn't be accurate here. So with our special education students, just starting from ground zero with them, you'll want to go to the Students tab to add your special education student. If they already have an existing account in Genius, I'll show you how to mark them special education if they weren't already. So you'll go through the process of creating your student. Bear with me here just a minute.
Did Keisha just leave?
I think she might have got kicked out.
Ruh-roh.
You didn't want to host it?
She's probably panicking and we'll be right back.
I'm sure she's panicking. I can see it now.
Uh-huh. She has a good audience. It's okay.
Yeah. Up. Said her internet just went out. Perfect timing, huh?
Brian, you're up.
I'm up. She said she's gonna hop back on. We'll give her a minute or two, see if she can get back on. And then I'll guess I'm taking over. Okay.
At least you know you've got a sympathetic crowd here. We've all been there.
Helps us not feel alone, right?
Exactly.
I think
You're
that's one of the
right.
benefits of going to online learning.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take over where Keisha left off. So she was creating a new student. So I will go ahead and oh, give me a minute here while I get this going. She's trying to sign back in. Does anybody use the entry reason when they're putting students in, just out of curiosity, for tracking, or do you just select other?
We do, because we
Yeah.
have kids coming from charter, homeschool,
Okay.
building, also out of partial, and in residential facilities.
Okay, that's good to know. Brinley, you do too?
No, we use other.
Okay.
Same
I
with
think
exit.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we hit other or unknown, whatever the options are.
Mm-hmm. I think most do, but that's good to know, Trudy, that you guys use it.
I know there's a report somewhere, Andrew reviews it, but, I know we review it occasionally.
Yeah.
Trudy, side note, I would love to see that next time he puts that together. That's exactly the kind of information I'm curious about with you guys.
I imagine I have to remember where the report is for him to have
Okay.
access to it, because I think he forgot again.
Dan, I think I can send you the report.
I think we don't use it because we don't, when it finally gets to us, we're not that granular as to why and where they came from. Does that make sense? Like the counselors, the buildings will have that. We don't know. We just put them in.
Our admission process is a little bit different, so we actually do direct admission to us, and we hold all of the meetings, orientations, and all of that. So
Nice.
we ask the nitty-gritty, and the guidance counselors only get to refer them, and then we take it from there.
Okay. Where are you from, Trudy?
I'm the distance learning coordinator for Southern Tiger School District. Man, that new title is very long.
I'm at the IU, so usually when I'm entering students, I have no idea where they're coming from, so I almost always use the other. I always feel a little bit guilty though.
All right, Keisha, you want to take over?
Yes, please. So sorry about that. Okay. Brian, where did you get to? Just the creating the student? Okay, perfect. Thank you. What awful timing that was. Okay, so once you've created the student, you're on the student's dashboard page. Then we're actually going to enter in their special education information. So on their dashboard, you'll go to actions and then special education form. When you create the student and mark them as special education and having an IEP, it should auto prompt you to complete out the special education form. I was hoping to show that, but that's when my internet decided to kick off. So for mentor or advisor name, you're going to want to put whoever is going to be in charge for monitoring the student. So if you have case managers who are involved in CAOLA and they have access to Genius, you might want to put the case manager for that kiddo. If you do not, you might want to just put whoever's functioning in that advisor role. School district, of course, will be whatever school or affiliation they're associated with. So I'm just going to put CAIU for this. And start date, of course, will be whatever date that they're going to be first accessing Genius. So then you have the options of assignment accommodations or course modifications. And this should be information that is also located in the IEP. So you'll want to go through the IEP or their accommodation snapshot and match that up to this form here. And this form is standardized across vendors. So when you're looking at actual accommodations from the vendors specifically, they may have slight variations on how they word things or how they name it whenever you look at the PDFs in our knowledge base. But the goal with this was to streamline it so that you didn't have to submit 5 different IEPs 5 different ways, so that you can just submit it one time. So if your student needs additional attempts on assignments, reduce number of test questions, reduce the number of multiple choice answers. So instead of having 5 options to choose from, maybe they'll have 3 options to choose from. So you can specify that information. So you would check off reduce number of multiple choice answers. And then in the notes section, along with that, you would specify exactly what you're looking for. So reduce to a selection of 3 options. You can have verbal submission of written work, remove assignment time limits. That does not impact too many assignments. We don't have very many assignments that have a timer on them initially. So that's one of the inherent accommodations with online learning and having more of an asynchronous format is students typically are able to complete those assignments within the time frame that they need. So any type of assignment modifications, you're going to outline up here in the top portion and expand upon in your notes. If you are not seeing what you need up here and you also don't find it under course modifications, then you would come to this last selection down here, course modification, and it says this student requires additional accommodations that are not listed or available above. Mark off yes, and then this is where you can expand and enter in more specifics what you're looking for if you have kind of a unique scenario. Some examples of course modifications would be to exempt certain types of assignments. So sometimes we have a kiddo who can't complete written assignments with like open-ended questions. You'd mark off yes, and then you would outline which assignments from the courses should be exempted. You can also adjust the course mastery threshold. So most of our vendors, whenever a student's working through an assignment or a quiz, by default, it's going to 80%. And so if a student does not get 80% on assignment, it'll force them to complete and max out their retries before they're able to move on to the next thing. If you have a student that you just know 80% is completely unmanageable for them, you could mark off yes and adjust that pass threshold to say 60% or 65%, whatever that minimum threshold that student needs to meet is. And then finally, and perhaps most important, make sure you're adding the IEP here in the file Dropbox.
I'm salivating.
So you're going to want to drop in the IEP, the accommodation snapshot, anything that has that relevant information. And then once you've done so and you click save, that's going to email the information and adjustments that need to be made to the associated course teachers for most of the vendors. For one of our vendors, it's the special education coordinator, but it is going to email out to the vendor so that they can apply those modifications for the kiddo. This will apply to current and future enrollments. So if you do this first, then you go back and add the courses for that student after the fact. That's totally fine. Those teachers will still have access to that IEP information. Before I jump into the vendors and show the accessibility and accommodation toolbar that they have built within, does anybody have any questions on adding the IEP information?
I
I
have a
just,
quick question. Sorry. This was some feedback from some of our users at our kind of end of year meeting in May that the IEP document had a size cap on it that was
Okay.
an issue sometime. Is that what you were gonna say too, Trudy?
yeah, because I think I'm the one that runs into that all the time because we have like ungodly 60-page IEPs.
Okay, that's good to know. I can work with with Genius to raise that limit.
We have found a workaround. So I have the full Adobe Acrobat version that the district now pays for, so we can reduce it in size. But hitting that 10 megabytes sometimes is really hard, especially when we have a lot of services.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can completely understand. I've seen some very thick IEPs myself, so I see the concern there. So I'll work with Genius and I'll update you once we have a resolution to that so that you're not having to manually reduce your IEPs.
I took notes so we can address that tomorrow with them when we meet with Genius.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian.
Before when we had Scott, before Dan, I would have to call Scott ahead of time and he would have to lift that just for that student, but it'd be nice not to have to make that phone call to Dan.
Yes. Yep, that makes sense. Okay. Give me just 1 second here. I'm going to go in then and show the accommodations available for the Buzz LMS. So what I'm about to show is going to be applicable for any Accelerate Education or eDynamic student. They use the same platform, so they'll have the same toolbar. And then I will show eSchoolware. So eSchoolware, which is another term for Edison Learning, eSchoolware is the LMS that they actually use, and the vendor is Edison. They have the Accessibility accessibility toolbar here. So they have a whole bunch of adjustments that can be made for students. So these are things that a student has the control that they can apply. Any student can use it. They don't need an IEP to use it. They can adjust their font size, adjust the readable font, highlight any links, adjust font spacing. They can adjust their color and contrast, as well as orientation adjustments. So they can mute sounds if they're going to be like, you know, I know sometimes if I'm hearing a bunch of noises all at once, it's harder for me to intake information. So they can have it that it's muted. They can hide images if the images are kind of getting in the way, or if they're using a screen reader, this is sometimes beneficial because sometimes the screen reader, the alt text, it just depends on what web page they're looking at. Let me go into the actual course here. So this is really nice that it's just already here. The ADHD friendly profile was always helpful for me going into different pages. Let me open the course, show you a few other things. So when you're in the course itself, then you have the ability for text to speech as well. They have a text to speech button that's up here in the top right-hand side. So you can just highlight the text and hit play, and then it will start reading the text to speech. It's going to bring up your toolbar right here. And this toolbar is actually now identical to the Buzz toolbars as well, but I'll still show it to you in Buzz also. So you have your text to speech option.
Music theory is the study of the structure of constructed music. This construction.
On certain pages, you'll have the option to translate dictionary, picture dictionary, and then there's also the screen masking tool as well. That just helps with focusing on where you're reading, especially if you're reading like a very text-heavy page. This can be very helpful for students. You have the font resizer, and then under settings, this is where you can change
Settings.
Under settings, you can change the voice speed, the text highlight, and you can also change what it's translating from. So English into Spanish, or you have a bunch of other languages that you can choose from as well. Any that have the audio button can do the text to speech into that language. If it does not have the audio, it can just translate the text into that language, but it cannot do the audio translation.
Translate. Cancel.
Any questions with the accessibility toolbars that are built into eSchoolware?
Just want to confirm that's for all, this isn't a settings thing. This is available to all students.
Yes.
This would be more of instruction that we might have to give to the students so that they know how to use the tools. Is there any tutorial or any tip, anything to show the students how to use it?
Absolutely. So we have some information within the knowledge base. We also do have a student orientation video that is created that goes over these features. But we can get a very specified tip sheet, especially now that bar is the same across our platforms. I'm happy to get that created and sent out. Brian, do we already have something on the toolbar specifically?
I think so. Let me look while
Okay.
you.
If not, we'll
Yeah.
create one for you, no problem.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to duplicate on my side in an actual student's account.
Mhm.
Can you go back into the class and show me where you access the toolbar?
Yes.
Sorry.
Nope, you're absolutely okay. Okay, so enter. And so once you're already in, like you're on the essential instruction, just click this text to speech button here, and then it's going to bring up your toolbar.
I'm sorry, as you could hear, the announcements were going off. I couldn't
That's
hear
it.
what you said.
That's okay. Once you're in the instruction, just click this text to speech button in the top right, and then the toolbar should pop up for you.
Perfect, thank you.
You're so welcome. In the Accelerate and eDynamic courses, the toolbar is just inherently always open. eSchoolware is the only one that you're going to have to actually open this up. And that's nice too, because you can collapse it and move it around. So it doesn't have to be this big long bar in their way at all times. Any questions with the Edison toolbar? Okay, I'm gonna pop back into. Oh, not gonna let me.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I have a parent meeting, so.
Oh, no, you're okay. I'm so sorry. This is running over a little bit as well because of my issues.
No, no, we're in online learning. We get that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a nice day.
You too. I'll be very quick and show Acceler Ed just so you can see that it is already open for the Acceler Ed courses for those toolbars. So once students in here and they're actually in their course player, you'll see that this just automatically populates on each page. The only place that this is not going to populate is on their assessments. If you're running into an issue with translation and things on assessments, let us know and we can work with our vendors. I think, don't quote me on this, Brian, we were able to turn this back on for a student, right?
Mm-hmm.
In an assessment. That's what I thought. It's not inherently there because of the dictionary and yeah, mostly the dictionary is the issue. But if you do need this turned on, let us know. We'll work with our vendors on that.
I'm just curious, because now you've got me thinking in the direction that this could be helpful, of course, obviously for ESL students.
Yes.
Lots of languages there. Have you ever heard any feedback from an actual ESL user? Like, do you know of anybody that's used this intentionally for that reason? Because we have this functionality and it's worked really well.
So
Yes.
yeah, one of our districts, Mechanicsburg, has a large Somali population. And they had an online learner who was from Somalia. And we were able to add that language in for them. And they were able to successfully complete the school year because we were able to add it.
Nice. And I'm sure that's why like you said, this isn't available on the assessments because you want to strict that, but you can turn it on.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I am so sorry that I took up so much time with my connectivity issues, but I hope that you were able to learn some special education tips and accessibility tips.
Will there be a video sent out of the full recording? Thank you. Because
Yes,
I know
absolutely.
some of us were in the other link for a little bit.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. If you have any questions in the future, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to help.
Thanks, Keisha. I did have one quick question if you have a
Yeah.
hot second. So when we're setting things up in Genius, it sounds like we don't need to use external file anymore. We just put everything into the special ed form and then it goes straight to the teacher, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then the other question, I'm still going in on the back end in Edison and in Buzz and setting accommodations at the student level as well for each student. I go in on the back end of Edison and click the little caret, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
hit reduce questions, reduced answers.
Yeah.
So we
You
can
still have
fill the
to-
form out, but we're still having to do the legwork of it. So what is the form doing? Is it just delivering the IEP? Does that make
No.
sense? Like
Yeah.
the form's
So I
not
know
actually setting it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know for Edison, you have to do that legwork for the accommodations.
Yeah. So I do
Um,
that on the day one of enrollment because you can't get to it until day one. So that's always
Right.
And then in Buzz, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going into Buzz as the admin, loading IEPs there and selecting reduce number of answers for multiple choice, and I'm selecting reduce or remove time limits.
Let me talk to them tomorrow because to my understanding, you should not have to be applying the accommodations. The instructors / the vendor should be making these adjustments
And Buzz, yeah.
upon receiving the IEP. I thought even in eSchoolware they were supposed to be doing that.
I think if it's outside of those two reduced questions and
Oh,
reduced
okay.
answers, they do it. But those two have to be done manually at the student level on the back end.
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't aware of anything like that with Buzz.
Yeah, I was under the impression Buzz was doing all that because it actually goes to their IEP coordinator in
Mhm.
Buzz, and she does all the back end work for the teacher.
Yeah, I
But
would definitely,
we will confirm with them tomorrow.
I think like a tip sheet or something would be good there if there's a guide,
Yeah.
because I hear what I want to hear, and what I want to hear in all this is do the form once and everything else
Correct.
happens
Right.
magically,
Right.
and let's hope that's the answer, but if it's not, it'd be good to know which
Yeah,
ones, because what Brinley said just made me I'm sorry, Brinley, it just made me worry that I didn't understand the purpose of the form to begin with.
Yeah, I personally use the form as a place to house the IEPs and get them into the instructor's hands, but the accommodations I'm still setting myself at the student level. It doesn't mean I'm using it correctly. I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
what I'm.
Right. Yeah. I know for Edison, yeah, for those two, you have to do that manually.
And those are the two that we use the most. And if they're gonna
Yeah.
reduce any assignments, we don't know on the front end what assignment it's gonna be because we can't see the study planner to say remove
Mhm.
Mhm.
lessons 4, 7, and 12 before their courses are loaded. So
Yeah,
we just work with the teacher directly. The case manager works with the teacher directly. But I love the special ed form. Fantastic training. You guys always do such a nice job. Thanks so much.
thank you. All right, well, we will be out with either a confirmation or a tip sheet. But thanks everybody for joining. I hope everybody has a good rest of their day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.